President Barack Obama said the other day, climate change trumps every other issue, including slavery in China. So let's talk about that issue. I'm Rob Hunter, that guy right there, my main man, Mike Russell. We are Russell and Hunter. Here's what I notice, Mike. It's always the alarmism that the climate is the most important issue. But hasn't it been that way for, I don't know, 50 years?
Well, 50 years ago, it might have been important. 50 years ago, it might have been a thing. But when Al Gore has taught us anything, he's taught us that climate change isn't important.
And the rain bombs and sucking the moisture out of the land and creating the droughts and melting the ice. And
climate change is profitable. So you got to follow the money on this. Show me the money! This is where you'll see Al Gore, since getting, well, he would say, having the election stolen from him. Does that make him the original election denier? Yeah, by the Supreme Court. He said, "Okay, I'll get everyone back. I'm going to tell everyone climate change is going to kill the entire planet. We're going to have carbon credits, and I'm going to make a lot of money doing it." And he's made hundreds of millions of dollars in the meantime, as has most of the political ruling class. They're profiting in on this.
Well, let's say that they're right, just for argument's sake. And it's all right. The climate is headed for an actual crisis. Fantastic. Are we sure that they're the right people to usher us in the right direction because of what Mike just said? Because there are financial interests. There are political campaign contributions. Plus, there's this other big factor. The technology, the left or the science or whatever keeps promising is there just isn't. And it's not anywhere close to being a reality. So even if climate change is as alarming as they say, our attempts to be able to do anything realistic about it are not.
And even with the current goals that are being laid out, President Biden says 60% electric vehicles by 2035 on the road in the United States. The deputy director of the EPA was asked, would we at that time have enough power on the grid to handle all that? He said, oh, absolutely not. So even the goals that are being set forth aren't even attainable.
And that is the challenge. So whether you agree with what we're saying or not, wherever you're at on climate change, if the goals aren't attainable, none of it really matters. I always Mike loves this because I always bring up Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, the blood company, because they kept promising all we need is more money, more money, more money. Well, it turns out that they couldn't invent the technology, and it's the same thing with the climate. It's all these promises from all these big-time politicians with hero complexes, but they're not delivering.
John Kerry, the climate czar, said very simply, if the United States and the entire EU went to zero emissions tomorrow, we'd still be in crisis. So what's the incentive? Exactly, cash.